what's your approach to building this emergency fund and how do you stick to it?
That is incredibly challenging. Saving, let's be real, it's just not glamorous. It's not the fun bit. It is the quiet discipline. It's a big number. Like an emergency fund, 3 to 6 months of living expenses. That's a lot of money for most people, especially in London. I would say
For someone that is just starting out and they're reading your book and with a student or someone middle age and so on, what's the first small big step they can make to make a difference with money?
I love the principle pay yourself first.
Yes,
one of my
that's the
favourites.
best one.
Pay yourself first, if you don't know what it is this principle where when you get paid and your money comes into your account, the first thing you do is you put a portion of it aside, whatever portion's right for you. And that goes to building your financial well-being through paying off debt or building your emergency fund or growth.
You frame the book around really the 3 M's, right? Mindset, management, and multiplication. And then you say you start with mindset. Why do you start with mindset, not the other two?
This is the topic that no one comes to me for help on, but probably they need the most, but don't realise. Because a lot of these things that we're doing and the things that aren't working are because of habits or because of beliefs. What were your influences growing up with money? What was home life like? What were your parents like with money or carers? How did they handle their money? You might have observed them do something when you were growing up and you now do the exact opposite because you don't want to be anything like them. So you go far the other direction, or you might repeat the same behaviours.
Welcome back to the Zomi WealthCast. We explore the ideas shaping the future of financial planning and money. Like many of us, money can be stressful, emotional, and some of us never really got taught how to manage it. Today, my guest is changing that. Anna Browning, the founder of Mentora Money, a platform that combines education, mindset, and financial tools to help you take control of your finances. She's a certified financial education instructor, an author of the Mentor book, and also a passionate advocate for financial inclusion and confidence. She's got a leading voice talking to the government and wider profession on the financial educational gap and inspiring thousands through her platform and mentoring. In this episode, we'll explore her journey, the psychology of money, and also how we can make a difference in the financial educational gap. Hello, Anna.
Hello.
How are you doing?
I'm very well. Thanks for having me today.
All good, all good. Obviously, quite a big introduction and the areas of, being author of, Mentor Money and the book you've wrote and the platform and everything else. Obviously, this wasn't the beginning of your journey.
No.
It started probably way before that. I would love to know, and I'd love the audience to know, who was Anna before the author, before the big coach, the big mentor about how to look after your finances? Where did we start with this journey?
Oh, it is such a funny, unusual, unexpected journey that I've been on the last few years. I do call this my accidental business because I tried to do other things, but this is the thing that actually I seem to take to. Before that, I was doing all sorts of other things. So this whole journey does come out of my own personal story. And I studied maths with Spanish at university. So the numbers is there and the creativity is there. I did performing arts and things like that at school. So I loved all the, standing in front of people, talking, being on stage, all that kind of thing. Came out of university, got a job in forensic accountancy. Great job in the city, really cool. But quite quickly realised I'm also really proper creative at heart. So I didn't stay there very long. Did a bit of teaching, did some songwriting, had 3 babies with my wonderful husband, Simon. We had our kids young, back to back. And then that's the moment where this sort of stuff kicked in. And I started to realise that perhaps what I'd seen my parents do growing up, the way my mum was at home with us and I wanted to be at home with my kids while they were babies and while they're young. I couldn't quite do it the same. And, times have changed, things have moved on. So the things that worked for them in their finances, which is where we get most of our knowledge about money from, isn't it? From our parents and our upbringing.
All their mistakes.
Yeah. And the good things too. And we kind of got stuck in our finances as a family. We were like, this isn't working. We've got these kids. We want to give them a great life. I want to be around. I want to be able to do school runs and pickups. I don't want to go to corporate life. What do we do? And that's when I started this sort of deep dive into the topic. I thought, I think I'm missing something here. There's got to be another way. There's got to be a way to make this work. And sure enough, through reading, researching, looking at all kinds of different options, I saw, not only are there lots of options out there now that perhaps our parents didn't have, But there's also there's just things that we never got taught, stuff that we should have been taught, the basics that this wasn't in our education. I had a great education, but money wasn't in there. And so I had to learn these things. And then we just went full pelt. Me and my husband, we implemented what we've been learning. We just got our teeth into it. I started some businesses, and then that's where I started this journey.
Right. So obviously, it doesn't come overnight. There's a lot of decisions that go around them.
Yeah.
I think, obviously, let's fast forward. Obviously, Mentora Money where it is today, and the book, and being an author, and being an individual yourself, and obviously in the spotlight for the good you do, and the financial education element. What drew you to it, and how did it start? Because we had a brief conversation about TikTok, and then that kind of hit it off. So let's explore that. Let's explore that a bit, because that sounds to me, that's really the foundation of where we are today, 5-6 years later.
Yeah, I started these little businesses, like I said, because I thought I want to build something that's flexible around my family, but also can scale. That's the thing that really appealed to me, is like the scalable income that we don't really get taught. You kind of come out of school, become an employee, which is, fine. It can be absolutely fine for a lot of people. But I just was really drawn to this idea of building something that could scale. I just thought it'd be really great. So I was trying to do this, and then sort of marketing these little businesses that I had, these fledgling businesses, on Instagram, doing a bit of marketing. And then TikTok came along, and I saw businesses going viral on TikTok. I thought, this could be great. This could be really
TikTok
good.
As well,
absolutely not. I was, because when 2020, it came out, really became a real thing. And you saw these videos, and I just loved TikTok from the word go. I just thought it was fantastic. I was just like, this is my jam. I love it. But there's no sort of serious stuff on here. This is all kind of crazy. But then gradually it started to shift, and you saw businesses showing what they do behind the scenes.
It's everywhere now, isn't it?
And it's everything. And, got to remember, Reels wasn't a thing. This was short form, the first kind of short form video. So people were just like all over it. So I thought, I could do this for my businesses. I'll give it a shot. But then I thought, no, because I might be really bad at it. So I'll talk about something else I really am passionate about, which is financial literacy. So I started making like 1 or 2 videos at home, posted them. I was out one day with my family on a rainy walk on a farm, pigs, my anorak on, phone in the pocket. And then I got my phone out, and one of my videos had gone completely viral. And followers were coming out my ears, literally just thousands of people engaging with this post. And it was where I was talking about how different things are from our parents' generation, and we have to relearn and we have to upskill. And so I was like, I'll keep going, I'll keep posting. And that's where it all started, because I thought it was just me. I thought I didn't really tell anyone what I'd been learning. I wasn't going, we're building an emergency fund now, guys. You should do it too. I wasn't talking to my friends about it, really. I was talking about my businesses and stuff. But I didn't think other people would feel and connect with the struggle that I felt with the lack of knowledge. And so that was the surprising thing to me, is how many people resonate with that feeling of, I just never got taught this.
100%.
And I think that was just a shock, really. I didn't know that was going to happen. I didn't plan it. But then I found my passion for the topic just developed further and further. And then when I started to see people, when they messaged me and said, I've just tried this thing out that you said about emergency funds, or I've just got out of debt. I've had people to come up to me and they say things like, oh yeah, since I last saw you, I've paid off 10K's worth of debt. And you're just like, that's mega. Like, this changes lives. Like, when people get their heads around this stuff,
no, 100%.
It's a big deal. So yeah, so then it became like a bit of a passion project.
Which kind of now led into something bigger than that. Obviously you spoke about, I think, people gravitating towards and resonating towards similar thinking. I think with the finance in general, it's usually quite a private element of things. People don't like to talk openly about it. But there are so many things I think everyone stereotypically struggles with or wants to understand or has the questions, but is, I guess, too, I wouldn't say naive or scared to ask the question, just usually keep it to themselves. And I think you've opened up that window to open transparency about something that everyone struggles with, because it's always, I guess, a closed subject in a lot of friendship groups or family groups as well. Just obviously, you started with Money for Millennials. And how did that then transform into Mentora?
I'm still trying to work out whether I called it Money for Millennials, because I was kind of clinging on to the fact that I am an elder millennial, but I'm still a millennial. And I was like, maybe it was that. But I like I said, I didn't plan all of this. So my first account, this is a funny story. My first account that I made on TikTok, I called it Money for Millennials because I thought, I'm millennial. I'm talking about being in this age group with my money. Let's just see if it appeals to these other millennials on TikTok. Spelt millennial wrong in the handle. So it was like, and then I have to make another username with the correct spelling. Honestly, this is my life. And yeah, so I started off because I thought I was just talking to millennials. And then quite quickly, well, not that quickly actually, after about a year, I was looking at my demographics and I saw that so many people were engaging with the topic. It was 25-year-olds, it was 45-year-olds.
All demographics. Yeah.
All demographics. The key thing that kind of pulls them all together, though, I think the thing that I can sort of link everyone up is this idea of coming to that moment of realization that it's not quite working. So maybe you've had a life change. Maybe you've just bought a house, or you're trying to buy a house, or you've just had a baby, or you're going through a divorce perhaps, or something. Something's changed in your life and you've realized what you know about money isn't enough to take you forward. And that's kind of what links all the people that I think engage with my content. That's what links them together. So then I was like, well, we can't have money for millennials anymore. Let's change it up. So after a while, I just thought, with the book coming
Money
out,
Mentor, yeah.
we'd already decided on that name. So I thought Mentor is the female Spanish name for mentor. So I thought, let's go with that.
That's brilliant. Obviously, you've kind of built this, I guess, like personal finance educational brand from scratch in the last 6 years, from obviously code, and the idea came and you took that brave step to say, you know, I might as well just go with it. Why not? Obviously, with the hit, you go on TikTok too. What's a lesson you kind of learned from building this from scratch? Many lessons, one lesson?
Many lessons, still learning many lessons. Oh, I think I've learned the power of talking to people where they're at and communicating to people in a way that's relatable. I think in the finance services industry, there's a real lack of that. There's a missing element where you have to remember people are people, and everyone feels a bit rubbish about them. No one's going, oh, I'm so good with money. Like, no one's saying that. I think we need to remember that we've got to talk to people in a way that they understand and is relatable. And I think that's been a massive learning point. I've had to upskill in myself, and I'm still learning. I think having a business, though, I think I just didn't realise what I didn't know. I've got a mentor that's helped me a lot with my business, and he said he used to say.
So the Money Mentor has a mentor as well.
I got all the mentors. He used to say something that really annoyed me. He was like, "You just don't know what you don't know," and I was like, "That's not helpful." But he's right. You don't realise you have to just start going and then add it on as you go. So much to learn with the business.
So I think we can leave that as a quite valuable lesson. You don't know what you don't know until you really know.
Yeah.
So it's,
sadly,
I think just being, I guess, just exploring, isn't it?
Yeah.
Just exploring. I'm really interested about the book. Obviously, it was released last year, or published last year.
Yeah.
Can you tell us a bit about it and what came about, and how did you get contacted by a publisher, and how do you come to thoughts and ideas to make stuff that's, you know, quite relative in today's terms and something everyone kind of struggles with?
I got reached out to by Bloomsbury Publishing about a year and a bit after I'd started this platform on TikTok. Very unexpected, didn't expect that to happen, and got on the call with him. I actually thought it was a spam email at first because I was so like, what is this? Yeah. My face went white, I think, and I just looked at my husband and he looked at me and I was like, he was like, what's the matter? And I was like, I've just got this email and I don't know what to do. Jumped on a call with them, and sure enough, they were so lovely. And Holly, my editor, she just said, Anna, I think this message needs sharing more widely and we want to help you do that. And I was just like, wow, this is great. So I put my proposal in and it just went through so fast. Thought it could take months and months, and they're just like, yep, good, like it. And the reason I think that happened was because I'd already been teaching my version of what I think people need to know is the basics, these 10 steps. I'd already been doing that, seeing it work with people. So people had come into me on TikTok or on socials, and I'd been taking them through these 10 steps, and it really helped people. So when I put that in the proposal, I think I already knew this was something that breaks it down in a nice way, and moves people along in a sort of accessible way. So yeah, I think that's kind of how it came about. And obviously it took a long time to write, took a year to write and a year to edit and publish. So 2 year
Do you have loads of versions?
Oh yeah. But it's so precious because when you do something like this, you never expect you're going to do it in your life. So it's the most amazing experience. So I was treasuring every bit of it. And I remember when they sent me the manuscript, you know, because they print it out in A4 first, and then you can write all over it. And it's like in the movies where you see the writers with their, you know, they drop them on the street, or like, or they've got the typewriter, and it's like I've got this stack of like huge stack of paper.
Pinching yourself, basically.
Oh,
isn't
so
it?
great. And I've still got that. It's in a little file with all the writing all over it and the post-it notes and everything. And it was just so
You should
cool.
probably frame probably one of the real copies and sign it and put it up into your wall for
Probably
life
should.
memory.
Probably
Yeah,
should.
it's a good idea.
Yeah, I should do that. So that was lovely. Loads of versions.
Wow.
Lots of editing, lots of, long days up before the kids in the morning, writing.
Can imagine, yeah.
I thought that the writing process would be the hard bit. That for me was the most enjoyable bit because my editor, she was brilliant. I had a bit of a wobble after I signed the contract. I was like, right, I'm going to do this. And then I was just like, who am I to talk about this topic?
Imposter syndrome?
Yeah. And she sat with me and she said, Anna, one of the best pieces of advice I can give you is don't write this for your peers. They don't need this information. Write it for the people that you're trying to help and write it for that person. Or, which I also interpreted as, write that for your younger self. The 20-year-old version of me, write it for her. What does she need to know? And then as soon as I got my head around that all just, the imposter syndrome just left. And I wrote it like a letter to my younger self. So that was so enjoyable.
It's a good perspective to have, isn't it?
Yeah, because you're talking in a normal way, you're sort of nurturing, and I wanted the book to be super nurturing.
Jargon free.
Yeah, and I get a bit annoyed in the industry when you see a lot of shaming around, oh, you're in debt, and a lot of people love that kind of content. It goes quite viral, but I don't like it. I think it should be judgment free. You don't know what someone's gone through. You don't know what they're going through right now. You don't know how hard it's been for them. So I wanted to come alongside people and nurture them and talk to them in a kind way. So the writing process was lovely. The editing process was brutal.
Oh, the grammar and all the...
Well, it was because you can write stuff, but then 3 months later you look back on it and go, that paragraph is absolute trash. That's got to go. And
I think I'm the English teacher's worst nightmare, by the way. I'm half English, half South African, so I've got a bit of a twang Afrikaans and English. So I get told off all the time that I put the wrong sayings together. Like
oh, brilliant.
A needle in a haystack. I might go, it's a penny in a haystack.
I like that.
It means the same thing though. But...
yeah, that's more relatable. Anyway, I relate to that one. Yeah, so that was quite an experience because I thought that wouldn't take as long, but it took hours and hours because you care, right?
You're actually going through line by line by line.
I think so I wrote it all and then it goes to the editor and they basically take a red pen to it and they just go like every single page would have notes and comments. And so they are doing like incredible
but,
work.
It shows the professionalism of it.
It's
like
amazing.
Yeah.
And of course I've never experienced that process before, so I wouldn't know. So I didn't know what it was going to be like. And my editor was superb because she got me and she got what I was trying to say. And so she was just excellent. And so she really did take a red pen to it. And then after that, it goes to the I think the desk editor. There's a whole bunch of different editors. So you've got the main editor, then you've got the desk editor who then goes through it with a fine tooth comb for grammar and punctuation and all the other stuff. So that's another round of edits. And then there's a final round of edits after that. So it's back and forward. And what can happen at any point is that the editor can come back to you and say, you've written 90,000 words, but 30,000 of them need to go. Or like section 1 just needs completely rewriting. So that could happen at any point. That didn't happen, thankfully.
Luckily, yeah.
But there were large chunks that I just had to completely rewrite because it wasn't communicating the right thing. So such an eye-opening process. But like I said at the start, I'm such a creative at heart. So I loved it. I think my husband, poor thing, was really glad when I finished at the end because he really held the family together.
Oh, bless him.
School runs and everything, and he was so supportive.
Well, big ups to the husband.
he's a great guy, and he really, and the kids, because they just, 2 of them were at my book launch. One of them couldn't come because she was on a school trip, and when I signed my contract, like they all ran in and hugged me. They wrote cards to say, well done. Like it's a family project.
Wow.
And they've been like partly doing it for them, you're partly writing it because you want them to have this.
Of course.
And also, I want them to know that they can go and do their creative endeavors when they grow up. So,
that's great. I mean, I really want to understand as well, you're always trying to fill a gap in the profession and that's really the financial literacy gap, right? In easy jargon-free terminology, and something where you said you were struggling writing the book, and then you thought about a perspective of let me write for my younger self or younger version of me, or let me think of an individual struggling. How can I give it to them in the best, easiest way possible? You frame the book around really the 3 M's, right? Mindset, management, and multiplication. and then you say you start with mindset. Why do you start with mindset, not the other two?
This is the topic that no one comes to me for help on, but probably they need the most, but don't realise, myself included. So if you were to speak to somebody who's struggling with their finances, the temptation is to go into fix-it mode. So you'd be like, oh, try this tool or try this budget. And they would be feeling the same. They'd be like, I just need to do things. I need to take action. I just need to move. But the trouble is, a lot of that could be futile if you don't actually take time to stop and think about what you actually think about money and what your background is in money. Because a lot of these things that we're doing and the things that aren't working are because of habits or because of beliefs or because of, and I know it can sound a little bit woo-woo. It can be a bit like, ooh, mindset. And some people don't like it, but it's real. It's, you've got to think about, I mean, just if anyone's listening and wants to try it out, I mean, think about your first money memory. What's the first thing you ever remember doing? I mean, what's yours? Well, I don't know if you want to share. But
my first money memory of what, earning money or spending money. I mean, I think
interaction.
I remember. Yeah, I mean, my biggest interaction with money is my dad gave me like 10 rand, which is, by the way, currency exchange like 0.5 pennies. But I don't know, I went to go buy everything in the supermarket with it. I bought like chocolates and
like spend.
chocolate. No, yeah.
Yeah.
I used the whole full 10 rand. So that was my first. And I think today I still do have that same mentality. So I need to change.
There you go. And then you could think about things like, well, what was your influence? What were your influences growing up with money? What was home life like? So that might be a difficult thing to think about for some people. You know, there might be a lot of stress with money growing up. What were your parents like with money or carers? How did they handle their money? Can you link any of that to how you behave now? For example, you might have observed them do something when you were growing up and you now do the exact opposite because you don't want to be anything like them. So you go far the other direction.
Completely left, yeah.
Yeah, or you might repeat the same behaviours. And it's really interesting when I talk with people, I do some one-to-ones with people, and the light bulb moments that people have when they go, I realise now that I don't like spending because my mum just never kept to a budget. She just splurged the whole time, and I don't want to be like that. So I find I save all my money. I find it really hard to spend. And I guess your listeners now, probably things will be popping in their heads. They'll be thinking, you know, oh gosh, yeah, actually, I never actually thought of that.
Something.
Yeah, and that's got to be the starting point, because you can only really build from understanding where you really are. And I think I like to think of it as like the handbrake or the accelerator pedal. So your mindset is either going to be holding you back, like the handbrake's on, you're trying to go and you're like, and the car's just not going. Or once you align your mindset with what you actually want in life, and that's another thing to work out, is what is it you actually want, which a lot of financial advisors' jobs is to actually help
Objectives
people
and goals,
figure that out. But even in in the basics of your finances, your budget should look like what you want your life to look like, right? If I was to look at your bank statement, does that actually reflect what you want? Is that actually aligning? So all of these things, once you can kind of line those up, then it becomes like an accelerator pedal, and the car can really sort of take off and start going. So, and let me just say, this is not one and done. It's like a cycle through the M's. It's all the way around and around, because I'm now at a point where my business is at a certain level and I've had to go back to it again. And I'm
revisit.
Yeah, because I'm like, why am I struggling to so my husband's been on at me for ages to get a hard drive. And I know this is a really bad, like just small example, but I didn't want to buy the hard drive because I was like, that's too spendy. I don't want to be forking out on a hard drive. I've got SD cards for all my filming and stuff. It's fine. I'll just use those. And he's like, you need a hard drive. This is what you're doing every single day. Get the hard drive. And I was like, no, I don't really need it. I'm not going to spend. And he's just like, he teases me because he knows that I know this stuff. I should just get the hard drive. Like, it's not that much money, but for some reason it was like this spending blocker. And I'm coming up against that stuff all the time still. So being aware of it, just knowing how that works, figuring out how to push through those things or change those things, yeah, can really make a difference.
I think from what I'm hearing from you, also that, and you said revisiting, I think the biggest thing is breaking bad habits, because mindset is obviously, I guess, thoughts and processes, right? And you say it can be psychological, it can be hereditary or family-wise, or it can be from moments or memories back when you're younger and how that affects you. But that builds a habit, doesn't it? And it's trying to either create difference to that routine and the habit, and then being able to manage it. And it's never easy, like you said. You got to revisit as much as possible. I think there's a big misconception, I guess, on people about getting financially organized. So you spoke about, looking at your bank balance and looking at all of these elements. So what do you think that actually means? Why is there a misconception in being financially organized?
Meaning, why do people struggle to get their ducks in
Yes.
a row, as it were? Well, I think we just never got given the right tools. I think there's a big thing in managing your finances in the M section about why are you doing stuff. So we all grow up knowing we should save. Like, oh, you got to save. Oh, you got to save. Yeah, we know that, but why? Like, because saving, for example, if you take saving just as one example, you've got your paycheck come in. What are you saving? Okay, well, cool. You know you need to save, but your savings should be completely linked to your goals. And you need to be able to know why you're saving. And then that will determine how much you should save and what account you should put it in.
And the length and time, yeah.
So I think there's all these dots that we need to connect. And I think budgeting, emergency funds, how to save, what to save, how much to save, what bank accounts to use, all these different things. I just don't think we got taught systems that work. So one of the big things I do is just the systems. Like, try this, give that a go. Here's a good tool. Once you've got your mindset stuff sorted out, when you've figured out what you want to go for, I've got a bunch of tools that I then offer people or talk to people about that then make it a lot easier. And you've got to find a system that works for you as well. It should be tailored to your lifestyle. I don't like this kind of thing of sort of take it off the shelf, copy and paste. I think everything needs to work for you and where you're headed. So my budget and the way I build, me and my husband, we do our finances is right for us, but that doesn't mean it should be copy and pasted into somebody else's life. But there are principles that definitely are for everybody. Things like having an emergency fund. I didn't know what an emergency... I mean, did you get taught emergency funds at school?
No, not all. Only until I was doing my exams, my advisory exams.
There you go.
36 months of salary.
It's so quantifiable when you actually know what it is. And also this is where the why bit comes in again, because I think, great, I've got to save up an emergency fund. Brilliant. That's not fun. But for me, I knew that was the platform to then investing because I didn't have debt. So it was like, if I get that done, I get to start investing. I want to invest. This is exciting. I want to grow this. I want to do that. So again,
it's reassurance as well, isn't it? That if something does go wrong, you do have something to fall back on.
Yeah.
Because I think finances and living life, there's a bit of a anxiety between the two, because obviously you want to enjoy yourself, but you also need to be careful of, I guess, your financial situation too. Obviously the book speaks about 10 steps. What step within that book do you think people struggle with the most?
This is quite a hard one because
all of them.
they're all there for a reason. Yeah. They're all there because I know we need all of them. And excuse me, when we see stuff on social media, often you'll get a tip from somebody and it'll be like, this is for zoning on this one bit. So just fix that in your finances. It'll all be fine. Rarely do we zoom out and look at the full picture and see the journey. And I think that's what I wanted to give people, was that the sort of overarching view of this is the journey. Now then zoom in on the bit you need to work on. And then you can come back to it. You go, well, I've got that sorted now. Okay, maybe I do need to do a bit of this and I need to do a bit of that. We've already spoken about mindset. I think a lot of the mindset stuff is huge for people, but they don't realise. So that's the thing that they probably need to work on the most, but don't realise they need to work on. And then I think the management side of things, so few people have a lot, like over £1,000 saved in the UK. So few. It's like, I think it's about nearly half of people, maybe a third of people in the UK have less than £1,000 in savings. So just getting some savings sorted, like you said just now, the relief, the reduction in stress and worry. And the thing about that is psychologically, I mean, I'd love to be able to quote somebody who's actually studied this, but I know there's studies out there of when you've got that bit done, it allows your brain to then think bigger and it allows it to think about the future. But if you're living in just today, it's so hard to then plan ahead because you haven't got the savings, you're stressing out. So you can't then start to design the life you actually want to go for. So for me, that's something I'm really passionate about, is getting that chunk of savings done, getting the debt paid off, so that you can then start to push forward and see that lovely progress.
That falls into one of the questions I'll ask. And, a lot of the stuff goes around like little small toolkits. And I know the toolkits are also, again, on the mindset of things, of how you can think about it. And For someone that is just starting out and they're reading your book and with a student or someone middle age and so on, what's the first big step they can make to, I guess, make a difference with money?
In the mindset stuff, or specifically
in general, a good starting out for someone that wants to make a difference with their money.
I love the principle. One of the steps is pay yourself first.
Yes,
one of my favorites.
I think that's the best one.
Yeah,
Don't pay others, pay yourself first.
I literally heard someone say this the other day, who's a really important person who knows a lot about things, and they literally talked about savings as, seeing what you've got left at the end of the month. And I was like, I nearly shouted in my seat. I was like, no, you can't do it like that.
Do it first.
You've got to do it first. Yeah. Pay yourself first. If you don't know what it is this principle where when you get paid and your money comes into your account, the first thing you do is you put a portion of it aside, whatever portion's right for you, sometimes 10%, sometimes 5%. And that goes to either...
Or fixed figure.
Yeah, whatever. To building your financial well-being through paying off debt or building your emergency fund, or growth. So that could be towards investing or something like that. But every single time you put that aside first, out of sight, out of mind, it's siphoned off, you live off the rest. That is a absolutely life-changing move if you can start doing that. It really is. Parkinson's law, you know that one?
No, please inform.
Of the time taken to do a task will be the amount of time you give it to do it.
Yeah.
And it will fill that time. So if you give it 5 minutes, it'll take 5 minutes. If you give it a week, it'll take a week. That is so true in my life. There's a derivative of that in finance, that you will spend to the amount you've got in your bank account. Like, your spending will increase according to what you've got. So if you put it aside first, great. If you don't, you will spend it. Like most people will spend it.
That's good. A good fact. I mean, Warren Buffett has a good fact. It says live within your means. And the reason why most people go bankrupt is because every time they get a promotion or bonus, they increase their living standard. I mean, that's back to back with paying yourself first, or if you pay yourself last, you're never gonna have the money left because you use it up, don't you? Because it's there. I think if I remember, you've quoted this in about use a phrase called assigning every pound. What does that mean in practice?
Right. So talking about living within your means. So say you have done your pay yourself first move and you've gone, right, I've put a bit aside. I know that I'm saving. That's good. You've got the rest to live off of. Now, one of the mistakes that I made for my whole 20s, yay, was just not having a plan for that money. And so I like to call it this thing called top line mentality, right? So you've got this chunk of money lands in your account. You saved a bit of it. Now you've got this other chunk that's sitting there. If you keep that all together and it's like one number in your bank account, you're going to feel so loaded in week one. You just feel absolutely loaded. You look at that number, you're like, let's go. Come on, rounds on me. Let's go down the pub. It is like a lovely feeling. But then week 2 comes around and you're like, oh, that's going down quite fast, isn't it? Week 3 and week 4, you're on beans on toast because there's nothing left. You're like, come on, the paycheck. We've got to get to the next one. What you can do to avoid that is to, before you get paid, is to decide what you're going to do with that money and break it up into chunks and basically say, I'm going to spend this much on food. I'm going to spend this much on clothes, this much on whatever, exactly tailored to you, but really to the point where there's nothing left. So you've assigned all of it, including fun stuff, right? I'm not saying be boring and miserable. If you do that, and you can actually do this inside your bank as well, you can make pots now, which we didn't have when I was younger, which I wish we'd had. You can make your pots in your bank account. You can split up your money as soon as you get paid into all the different categories. And then you go through the month using that and spending from that. And that can be the difference between sticking to your savings, sticking to your plan, and having to use your credit card. It's literally can be the difference between being in debt and not in debt.
Do you know what I find really important then? It's almost like a lot of the mindset stuff. It's almost like a no-brainer, but you've got to hear it come from someone, right?
Yeah.
And sometimes a lot of people actually will listen to this and go, "Oh yeah, you're so right," and they never do it.
Yeah.
It's literally just sitting down and just literally just like budgeting. Goes for signing every pound. I mean, AKA budgeting, really, isn't it?
Yeah.
Just maybe an easier word than budgeting. No, I agree. You spoke a lot about the emergency fund element of things, right? So what's your approach to building this emergency fund and how do you stick to it? Because sometimes, you might go, oh, I'm going to just tap into that a bit more now. Or I've been a bit heavy this week, or I need to go to a pub again for next week, or I've got some dinners coming up. So what's the approach to building that first of all, and then sticking to it and not touching it?
I mean, that is incredibly challenging. I think saving, let's be real, it's just not glamorous. It's not the fun bit. It is the quiet discipline. I think, and I say this to a lot of people, I think this worked for me. I think this works for a lot of people, is really getting so clear on why you're doing it, and then breaking down your sort of timeline of when you want to get there. I've told a lot of people, like, print it out, put it on your wall, tick it off as you go, because really it's kind of, you do it once, and then after that point, once you've done it, it's really hard to do it. Let's be honest, 'cause it's a big number. Like an emergency fund, 3 to 6 months of living expenses. That's a lot of money for most people, especially in London. So it's a big number. It's going to take a while to get there, perhaps over a year, probably over a year. So that I would say break it down, decide how much you can do each month, then try and speed it up. So side hustling, creating other bits of income.
Streams of revenue.
Yeah, just start to see if you can do that. That's what we did as a family. And then, get really clear on why you're doing it and what it's going to give you when you get there. So that you, in those moments where you're like, I could buy the shoes or I could keep my emergency fund pot intact, what's it going to be? You know why you're doing it. You go, no, I've just got to do this for 6 more months. I can do this. I'll get the shoes another time. Don't need them. And after that point, I'm going to be an investor, because I will have done my emergency fund and I can start investing. So I had to really get eyes on the prize. It wasn't easy. I want to be real about that. I think, especially if you're in a bit of a pickle with your finances, making the shift to get on track is hard graft.
It's not easy. Yeah.
But it's so worth it. It's so worth it for your mental health, for your well-being.
It's a short-term pain for a long-term gain.
Exactly.
Which is rather good. I mean, that's obviously, if people want to know more about it, they've obviously got the book. You can go and get on Amazon and all of the rest. I'm really conscious about, obviously, you're really involved, and I saw recently you spoke to various government members, and you're quite big on the financial inclusion. So obviously, I think people are aware of this financial education gap, right, or the literacy gap. Speaking to government members or people in Parliament or whatever it might be, how are those conversations like, and what are they inclined to? Even if you're allowed to tell us.
Yeah, of course. Firstly, I'd just like to say that I'm so thrilled that we're at this point now where government, people in power, big financial juggernauts are acknowledging the need to communicate better with people and make the most of social media for good, rather than being afraid of it or keeping it at arm's length. Let's be honest, there are some bad players on TikTok, Instagram, any platform. There's some terrible stuff out there, but there's also a lot of people trying to do good and proving that it works, proving that using these tools that we've been given through Meta and all sorts, it is such a powerful way to change things with financial literacy. And we are already, from when I started, we're in such a different place now with financial literacy and talking about it and talking about money than we were a few years ago. And I think it's largely down to social media. I really do. So the government bodies and people, they are embracing it. They're trying to figure it out. It's a bit of a funny thing, but it's been wonderful. It's been wonderful to have the opportunities to just be in the room with people that can change things and make policies. And also, I worked on a project with Tizer, where basically we were testing out a sort of hypothesis of, women investing. If we make some videos talking to women in a way that's really accessible for women, what will happen? How will that help? So we did that. We made some videos, posted them, looked at the analytics, and it was such a lovely project just to test a message.
Fun as well, isn't it? Yeah.
And just to show. And then that got taken to Parliament. It got taken all over the place and used, and that was so lovely to be a part of.
I think if we go down to it, and it's a question I want to ask you, I think before I give my view, let me ask you, why do you think a financial education or gap exists in the UK currently, and what's your view on that?
I think we were at a bit of a catch-22 where our parents didn't get taught. We learn most of our financial education from our parents. They didn't get taught. They don't feel confident, maybe themselves. They had a different set of life circumstances than we've been given in our age demographics. And then we don't get taught at school. So I think we're just kind of in this catch-22. It's like, where do we learn from? Who are the educators? I think we do have a problem in financial services and in finance, where finance people like to talk to finance people and they like to talk finance language, and it doesn't necessarily translate to the average person who wants to get better with their finances but doesn't really understand what stocks and shares ISA is. I think we need to get better at talking normally, and my husband, he works in an app development company. They're all, coders. When they talk, I don't understand what they're saying. They're very intelligent people talking their own talk. And I think it's a similar thing. It's like you get in your own industry and you talk your own language. But I think we are seeing this shift, but I think we need to speak the language of people who are just in their day-to-day lives dealing with money and get better at that. So I think it is shifting.
But you know what? I don't think it's actually skill that, and we spoke about earlier. Obviously everyone does the studies and everyone wants to speak the jargon because not on the showing off element of thing, but you want to see, look, I studied this, I know it, right?
Yeah.
But it actually takes a lot more guts to be humble and explain it in a very easy manner. It's actually something even more difficult to explain to someone that has no clue about it.
100%.
And if you can correct that and achieve that, you're going miles ahead. And it's a beautiful thing that, touching on financial literacy and school, I think you kind of hit the nail on the head. And I think it really starts when you're young, because your brain is a beautiful thing. It adapts and it changes and it molds to the presence and the environment you're in. In school, back in South Africa, we had a subject called life orientation, which didn't do what it needed to do, but I think there should be a subject where they teach you how to change a tire, or wheel tire, or lift up a car, or talk about what does budgeting mean, because obviously you have fundamental subjects like economics and accounting and maths and stuff, which obviously theoretical base, but more like life practical management things. Because do most people know how to change a tire? I didn't really know it, but it happened to me. I had to figure it out really quickly.
But I don't know if I'd be able to get
I know it's off topic, but it's in that theory.
Absolutely.
And if there's a subject out like that, it's a big, it can change a lot,
Yeah.
So back to that, really, you're obviously a big advocate about, you spoke about with Tice's, trying to say new to kind of resonate with women in financial services and bring in that type of demographic. How does money confidence differ between man and women, and what's your take on that? What have you seen? Obviously I'm a man, so it's just a different mentality.
Yeah, I think studies are showing a big difference in the way we approach things like investing and risk. So women's risk appetite is, they're just more risk adverse than men. However, it also shows, studies have shown that basically over long term, women's investments actually have performed better than men's. So I think risk can be a good thing, but also being slightly more risk averse can also be a good thing. However, the problem we've got is getting women on that first step in the first place to actually invest their money.
To take the leap of faith.
Take the leap, yeah, in whatever form that looks like. And the more I learn about investing, I just realise there's no right or wrong. It's just get going, and you can change things as you go along. There is really wrong where you can get it really wrong. Let me just correct myself. But in terms of if you're doing a sensible strategy, you can't just, again, it comes back to that copy and paste thing. You can't just copy and paste and everyone just do this. It's not how it works. You have to just get going. And women do find it harder, I think. I started a little investing club earlier on in the year. It's on pause at the moment because I haven't had the time. But at the start of the year, we just got women together online and got an expert in. And we just did these little sessions where it was seminar, of come and learn a bit. And you could see, like, I surveyed everyone. I've surveyed over 600 women. And it was basically like, where are you at on your journey with investing? What's your biggest blocker? And the biggest blockers were things like, don't want to lose my money. Don't feel confident I've got the knowledge to get it right. It comes back to confidence again and again and again. And the other thing is, you can build that confidence so fast. It's not like that's a deal breaker then. You can't be an investor because you're not very confident. It's like, no, give women a few bits of knowledge and they will be like, pew. Honestly, we're good investors. Yeah. We're really good investors. So that's one of the things I feel really like I've got to do more of. That is something I feel very passionate about, is give women the right knowledge, then they'll have the confidence, and then they'll do very well. So I think, that's good. No, good standpoint. No, obviously I think it's quite stereotypical. Obviously, some men sort of run headfirst into elements of things. I love it. It's great. Yeah.
They're crazy with it. Obviously, different spectrums of things. Obviously, being in the industry that you are now, and I think it's the FCA and the terminology they use is the finfluencer.
Yeah.
How do you think social media, and we spoke about TikTok and the Meta and all, how has it changed the landscape of how people see money now and how they can get involved in financial literacy?
Oh, it's really changed things a lot. I think firstly, it's the proof of concept of does financial concept, can you communicate them well on short form video? I think the proof of concept is yes. Like, look at these people that are making these videos, and then it's having this impact for the good on somebody's life. It works. It's such a helpful tool to be able to communicate these things that we need to know. There's a flip side to that, whereas there's the good, but there's also the ugly, the bad. It's a big problem. Like, there are people out there who are scamming people left, right and centre, or they're saying really unhelpful things. So I think I'm part of a group of content creators. By the way, the word finfluencer, we're still like, oh. So I want to know.
Just by the way,
I want to know who came up with it, and I want to talk to them.
Finfluencer.
Because it's just so, it's like settled in now. You can't get away from it, but it's, oh, no. Anyway, I'm a part of a group of creators who are just absolutely lovely people, just in it for the right reasons, really doing good things. Lovely, lovely, lovely people. And I think we are super careful about what we're saying. I think we're trying to learn from the FCA. We're meeting with the FCA. We're working with brands and we're learning from them. So when we work with a brand, the level of compliance we have to go through is like full on.
I mean, I think most people want to know is like there's a fine boundary between, I guess, education and giving advice.
Right.
And that's what the FCA are scared about, right?
Yeah.
But you hit the nail on the head with the compliance element.
Yeah. And I think that's been a learning curve because this hasn't existed before. So finfluencers haven't been a thing. So we're learning as much as anybody. So as long as there's that sort of openness to learn and openness to develop what you're doing, which I totally have. I'm very much, sometimes I submit a piece of content to a brand and I'm like, I think I've got it right. And then they come back and they're like, you need to add in this disclaimer. And I was like, damn it. Like,
Capital
I
address.
thought I covered everything. And so, when I talk about investing, I just stick capital risk on everything because I just think, go that way. Like, I'd rather err on the side of caution. But I am learning, and I think there is a lot to learn. There's a lot to figure out with the FCA and with brands to make sure that we're getting it right. But what's nice now is we're seeing the partnerships developing. So it's lovely.
Between firms and content creators.
Yeah, and I've started working just this year with long-term partnerships with brands, and it's such a joy because you're at it on your own, doing your thing, and then to actually work with a team within a brand and put content out and test content and see what works. Such a joy to be at this point. So I'm really glad we've got here.
You obviously hit that. And I think you've got now a trusted following as well through years of working in the industry. How do you, I guess, really like, what's the key for Anna to stay credible in the industry? Because obviously so many things change. There's a big thing about the FCA and about you said the scams and stuff. So how do you, on a perspective, stay credible and keep their credibility?
I think there's some work to be done with certain platforms about verifying people who are consistently putting out good content. I think Meta have got there. We've got the blue tick situation, and they can look at my stuff, and if I do anything dodge, they will just silence me. LinkedIn, I think TikTok has got some work to do. I can't prove who I am on TikTok, which I find very, very scary. I can do that on all the other platforms now. Even if I have to pay, I can prove who I am. So I think there's some work there to be done. I don't know how quickly that will happen, but I really want to see that. I think for me, it's taking lead from the powers that be, FCA, compliance teams, learning from them, doing what they say, but also still allowing myself to be a creative and trying to get that balance right. I think a lot of the credibility comes from who I have the privilege of working with. And you know what? I had a call recently where they sort of told me how much background checking they do on me with the brand. And I was stunned, but also a little bit relieved. So I was like, well, I've obviously passed the test.
Scary in the closet.
And it was just like funny because you don't realise, but these, I've worked with Downing Street, places like this, and there's no way they're just letting me through those gates without doing some checks. Do you know what I mean? And so I just kind of think,
I should know what she's speaking about.
Yeah, and so in some ways I'm really relieved because I'm like, it's good that they're doing that. It's really good. But I know they're watching every single video I put out. They are, I know I'll get a call if I put a video out and I've crossed a line. I'll get a call, which is lovely because I like that. But it's a reality I'm living with now. So I think there's that. I think time is another one. It's like when I first started on TikTok, I was a nobody. I just doing this thing.
Yeah.
I've now got time on my side where I've been doing this lots. I've put hundreds of videos out. I've released a book. You can see what I talk about and you can fact check it all. And there's been consistency there. So I think consistency is another thing that
Big on the credibility.
Yeah.
No, 100%. Obviously, if you did do something bad, you probably wouldn't still be around, I guess, in a reassurance point of view. You also speak about, I guess, the future of financial education. And it's something that, we touched on earlier about schools and stuff like that. And you've spoken to different people in parliament and government members, and you've spoken to big businesses as well. Is there something you think schools can really do about that? Is there something they can reteach, reintroduce? Where would you start?
I've got some thoughts on this because I've got some wonderful friends who are campaigning, doing some bits and pieces to try and get education in schools. And I think that they're absolutely doing the right thing. I think it's got to happen.
But you think these are schools leading it independently?
The problem I've got is I think teachers are overwhelmed as it is. Like they work so hard and it's already incredibly difficult to be a teacher. So I think adding to their workload perhaps isn't a great idea. But I like the idea of, other teachers coming in, or perhaps, you've got an organisation that can go around schools or something like that. I think that's a great thing.
The financial literacy team.
Yeah, like why not? Like you have certain teachers come in for music, you have certain teachers come in for other things. Like why not have that as well? I like your suggestion about the life skills thing, that it's not just finance, perhaps maybe it is alongside
or it's a life management.
Like because there's so many things like cleaning your home.
How do you make a fire?
Like how many times do I wash my bed sheets in a month? I don't know. Like all that
What's
stuff.
good hygiene factor?
Yeah. I like that. I think there's room there. So I know there's some people doing some good work on that already. My thing is I feel like there's a big chunk of the population who've already missed the boat. That hasn't happened for them, and they're the adults of today, and we need to reach them. So I already know there's good stuff going on. I will sign the petitions, I will do the things. But I think for me, I want to look at, okay, what about the 45-year-old woman who's living in, I don't know, Sussex, and she doesn't know what she's doing with her money and she has no idea where to turn. I think even in people in their 20s, they've had this wave of TikTok and Instagram. But what I've noticed, and people have said to me on my DMs, they've said like, cool, but we've missed that. We missed that wave with the older demographic. So maybe like 35 and upwards. And it's like they weren't in the TikTok wave. They're catching up now. I want to see content for them. I want to see initiatives for them, because they're the ones that need to retire. They need to plan for retirement. They need to be investing. They need to be really on top of their finances. And I really want to help those people.
So let's say, for example, you find an element of a solution there. Do you think, I guess, financial literacy or education is quite intimidating? And is there any ways we can make it more engaging?
Well, funny you should say that.
Well.
I think if you check out my content, I don't think it's intimidating. I think the stuff that I try and make, and some of my other friends, content creators, it's aimed to be hopefully something that wouldn't freak you out and think, oh, I couldn't do that. But I'm also really looking at the moment about what I do next. I think I'm going to release a podcast soon myself, but it's going to be Trojan horsing education in.
Right.
Because I think there's a lot of women, especially, that we're not reaching, who wouldn't listen to a finance podcast. Even if I made a finance podcast, I don't think they'd listen to it if it was specifically about finance every single week. But if we cross over with lifestyle, and we bring in experts and we bring in people that have got something to say on lots of different topics.
But indirectly
and bring in finance into that mix, I think we can Trojan horse that education.
Oh, 100. That's a really good idea, yeah.
And I think that's probably the next thing I'm going to be looking at doing. Right. So I just think there's this, like, the circles, isn't there? There's the finance people who know everything about finance. Then you've got the wider circle of people, perhaps they work in finance or they're a bit clued up because they had parents that taught them. Then you've got another circle who are like, oh, I'm just dipping my toe. And then you've got the wider circle who haven't
but bear in mind that wider circle is probably 70%.
Right. And I think it's that group of people, oh man, I just want to you've got like beauty, fashion, home decor, all these things that we're so used to, like, being part of the lifestyle thing. I just want to bring finance into that mix. I just want it to be part of that conversation. I'm going to an event in next week, and it's a home, like it's like a tidy your home style event. It's called Home Life and You. And this is the first time they're bringing someone from finance world into that. And I'm like, yes, that's what we need to be doing. It's like it's going to be thousands of women, mostly women, some dudes too. And it's going to be looking at the home and but then
did you know, by the way,
bringing in that aspect, and I just think that's what I want to do.
I think you've done very well, and if I don't mind, I might say myself, I guess, on the engaging element of things, not just for younger audience, for an all audience. There's no really. I mean, obviously you follow demographic trends, but I think speaking openly, easily about something, and making engage, not to like throw jargon around. I think jargon's a really used word here, because that is what the financial industry is all about, is these big jargons. But to almost make it inviting, or let's use the word enticing, for someone to really just sit there and go, oh, she's actually onto something, or he's actually onto something, that makes sense. And it's just repetition, just drilling that idea and process in until you actually take it aboard. Because I know a lot of people watch and listen to all sorts of things and okay, right, save for next time, but don't really take it on board. It's just taking that first action, really. And I mean, obviously, you've done a remarkable job, and I can imagine you've got family and friends who are very proud of you and the journey you've taken as well, because you've also taken a leap of faith yourself. If you look back, there's a lot. It's really a lot you've done, and the way you've spun all the place. You're also a mum of 3. You're not just a mother as well. You're a partner. You've got friends. You've got families, and you've done a remarkable job. What is next for Mentora Money and yourself and your brand? What's the next project? What's the next 3 years look like? What's your idea of you wanting to go forward?
I spoke to another content creator friend recently, and we both sort of agreed that we can't really think further than a year ahead, because it's such a dynamic industry.
Yeah.
It's changing all the time. You have to just move with it. So it's a funny one, whereas people got their 5-year plan. I'm like, wow,
I wish.
But I do think, like we've just sort of mentioned about, I think the longer form stuff where it's maybe just lighter touch, but then that first connection with finance content, sort of getting more people through that door, so then they could maybe take a deeper dive into the next steps. I want to do more of that, the sort of front door sort of stuff.
Okay, and working with bigger advisory firms as well?
I'm working with some brands. So basically, I work with brands on a regular basis now, but I'm so picky about who I work with, because it's got to be authentic. I can't just be saying, oh, do this. I've never even heard of them. It's got to be real. And I won't talk about something I don't believe in. So I've got sort of like a group of brands that I'm loving working with, and I would love to expand that to just help that communication piece. And it's not about promoting a thing. It's about working with them to further education. And, so many brands have like these cool tools that they've developed, like a compound interest calculator or, these lovely little bits and pieces,
toolkits,
but no one knows about them. And it's so helpful. So bringing awareness to stuff like that's really good. But yeah, I think the podcast, working with experts to just, hopefully get interesting voices in the mix, and making conversations about money more normal. Love to see where the government stuff goes and whether that keeps being a thing where they work with content creators. Would love to see more change in the women investing space. See more women investing.
The diversity element, 100%.
Yeah, and just try and help build more confidence in women to take the leap and do their investment journey, start their investment journey.
No, of course, so, brilliant. Yeah. I guess really on the closing note, really, if you go paraphrasing the book and your journey and the platform itself, with the different toolkits and the mentoring element and online community that you've built up, is there one thing you could leave the listeners or viewers, really a mind shift change they can make about money that you'd like to leave here today?
Yeah, I think the thing I'd probably say, and this probably resonates with me the most because of my own journey, of the stuff we've talked about. Bad news sells. Bad news is the thing that will get clicks and it will get, engagement online. And there's a lot of bad news out there. The news outlets themselves love to say, how bad things are right now. And there is an element where we are in really challenging times. That is a fact. I can't deny that. I'm not going to be here going, well, these are great times for everyone in the UK. They're not. But I think the thing to remember is just to look for the opportunities, because there are opportunities that our parents didn't have, previous generations didn't have, that are at our fingertips. And I think, yes, we need to be aware of what's going on. And I do talk about what's going on in the news. I talk about the challenges we're facing today, but also have your eyes open to the opportunities that we now have with money, finance, banking, investing. It's there. Let's look for those, because both are true, and we need to make sure we don't focus on one more than the other.
That's lovely. Thank you very much, Anna. Thank you for having the show.
Thanks for having me.
All good.